Hey guys, this is the Old English D podcast for Wednesday, July 31st. I am sitting here the evening after it is currently right around 10 o'clock p.m. after the trade deadline ended just about 4 hours ago. Still trying to mentally process all that has that's gone down in the last 24 to 48 hours. It's been, a lot to unpack for sure. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it all tonight. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it all figured out how I feel about everything. I'm very torn on a lot of different things. To break it all down for everybody who wasn't, following on in the moment by moment, this weekend was the end of the Twins series, which the Twins series did not go well. Neither did the 2-game series against the Guardians Monday, Tuesday. So far, they lost this afternoon, 5-0, I believe. I'm not going to really get into too much about the on the field stuff on this pod. I think I'm going to try to get all my thoughts out about what went down and everything that happened trade deadline wise on this pod this week, and then we'll kind of see where things land with roster moves and things moving forward for next pod, that is. So everything for the Tigers kind of was a simmer when it comes to hot stove up until I believe it was Monday, post Monday's game. The Tigers traded Carson Kelly, catcher, to the Texas Rangers for 2 prospects in their system. This is a disclaimer moving forward as well. I have all of my prospect ranks that have come from MLB Pipeline. That is where I'm basing off of all of these numbers and ranks and things. To be clear, prospect rankings are a complete mess most of the time. Especially once you get past the top 10 to 20, it's pretty much a toss up no matter what way you stack it. No matter who tells you what, it's a pretty tough business to be in. But anyway, that's all where I'm getting my information from. But Carson Kelly was traded to the Texas Rangers for 2 minor leaguers. Liam Hicks, who is a catcher at AA for the Texas Rangers. He's not ranked. He's a little bit of an older guy, 25, 26. And then also they traded for Tyler Owens, who is a guy who's been pitching in relief for the Rangers AA squad. He is ranked 9th in their organization, their 9th ranked prospect. So to start off with, this move made a lot of sense for the Tigers organization. Out of any of the trades that were made in the last 24 to 48 hours, this made a lot of sense. You have Dylan Dingler, who is hitting very well in Toledo. You've got 2 major league caliber catchers on your roster right now. You kind of want to free up some playing time in the big leagues for Dingler. So you decide to move on from Carson Kelly, who's on an expiring contract, who you got for literally nothing. I believe they signed him as a free agent. So to get anything from him and to be able to get Dingler some playing time, I think was a big win for the organization. You kind of get that replacement catcher in Hicks, and you get a guy with some really interesting stuff in Tyler Owens, a reliever. I believe they're both starting in Erie for now. Like I said, it's going to take a lot of roster moves to kind of sort out what in the world is going to happen, especially with the big league roster, as we'll talk about in a little bit, but also just, how is the trickle down effect gonna play out with the organization in the minor leagues. But yeah, overall, Loved this move. Gave Dingler the chance to get called up. He got his first major league hit, which was an RBI double. Hit the ball hard. Much deserved. He's put in a lot of work in the minor leagues. It's been a lot of a growing process from the second round pick out of Ohio State in Dylan Dingler. So super happy for him. Wanted to make sure I stated that. I think there's a good catcher in there. I think he's got the tools, and I think he's got the work ethic to make it work and to make it stick for a while. So hope the best for him. Again, Carson Kelly, consummate professional with the Tigers. He really took the opportunity with the Tigers to really turn his career around. Really, really happy with him. I hope he does very, very well in Texas. I think he's going to be a backup role for them, but super, super excited to see if he can do anything with them. Second trade that went down came in the form of Andrew Chafin post game this afternoon on Tuesday. This one, again, is very much like the Carson Kelly deal. Guy with a club option, I believe, but you still look at a guy who's basically on a 1-year deal, who's pitched pretty well on and off for the Tigers this year, and you go to the Texas Rangers organization yet again for a couple minor league guys. You get a AAA reliever, Chase Lee, and you get a high A starting pitcher, Joseph Montalvo, I believe is how you say his name. I'm going to probably be butchering a couple of these names here tonight, so please forgive me. And if I get any of these time frame deals wrong, or names or positions, I do apologize ahead of time. It's been a time and a half trying to keep track of some stuff here this evening. So again, I do ask for forgiveness preemptively. So Chase Lee, reliever, he's 25 years old. He was drafted by the Rangers in the 6th round. Currently in 2024, he is sporting a 1.93 ERA in 14 innings of work. He has 18 strikeouts. He's got a pretty high whip and a 1.6 whip. His career 3.79 ERA, which is probably why he's a bullpen arm. But yeah, it looks like he dealt with some injuries to start this year. Hasn't really got a whole lot of work yet. Total of, like I said, 14 innings so far this year. So we'll see what he can do in AAA. Seems like a candidate for maybe a bullpen or some kind of relief role with Detroit at some point. But also involved in that deal was Joseph Montalvo. Super excited about him. And I'm being serious about that. He's got some really electric stuff. I've seen a lot of video of him. I think he might be. I mean, he was the Rangers' 27th ranked prospect, but I'm actually pretty excited about him. He looks like he could end up being a middle of the rotation kind of guy if he can keep it up. He's 22, so he's still super young. He's from Puerto Rico, but he was drafted by the Rangers in the 20th round in 2021. So far this year, he's sporting a 2.44 ERA in 59 innings pitched, 73 strikeouts, a 1.1 whip. He's kind of cleaning up in high A rather. He'll probably pitch. I would think he'd probably pitch a little bit in Erie, especially with some of the roster shuffle that's gonna have to happen in the organization with all of these things. So hopefully he can get to AA and start to make some headway there. He's a big skinny kid, so excited about him. He looks like he's got the stuff to move up the ladder a little bit. And yeah, that all happened right. Carson Kelly again happened Monday, and then Andrew Chafin happened earlier this afternoon, probably 4-ish, with about a couple hours left in the in the day, before the deadline rather. And then, yeah, what everybody's talking about. Right before the deadline, I believe, right at 5:45, it broke that Jack Flaherty was getting traded to the Los Angeles Dodgers. And immediately when it happened, there was a lot of, well, I should go back for a second. Right before that, a lot of people were like, well, maybe the Tigers are going to hang on to Flaherty. And then that line of thinking caught some fans and started to kind of grow legs with some fans. And really there was and still is kind of two schools of thought with Flaherty. There's one camp that believes that definitely the Tigers should trade him, get as much as they can for him, and he's on an expiring deal. You're probably not going to get the prospects. You might not get the prospects you want from him that would equal the compensation pick we would get from him if we offer him a qualifying offer, which the Tigers would definitely have done that. So you have that camp, and then you've got the other side that says, you got to keep him, try to extend him, or at the very least offer him that qualifying offer, see what you can get, see if he'll take it, whatever the case, maybe try to grow that relationship a little bit. So that grew, and then, he gets traded, and the return on that trade is the subject of quite the controversy amongst Tigers fans right now. And just so we set the stakes appropriately, how everybody understands things, or at least how I understand them as of right now. Jack Flaherty is a top probably 10 to 15 pitcher in baseball right now. With how he's pitching, he's top 10 in a lot of the major stats, such as strikeouts and ERA and things like that. He's on an expiring deal. He was on a 1-year deal with the team. The Tigers can offer him a qualifying offer, or the Tigers could have offered him a qualifying offer at the end of the year, which should have been in the range of right around $20 million, I believe. And with the way he's been pitching, he'd be worth that. And that would be a really good offer for the Tigers to give him. Now, would he have taken it, or would he have tried to test the market? That, who knows on that front? We really don't. There were some reports that he was open to an extension with the Tigers. I don't know how substantiated any of those claims were. But in all, when it all boils down, Jack Flaherty was a free agent. So whoever was going to be attempting to acquire Jack Flaherty was going to be doing it as a rental for 2 months. 2 months of the year plus whatever postseason you get. The real wrench in the whole starting pitcher market as a whole for Major League Baseball came in the form of the dreaded Houston Astros going out and really throwing everything out of whack when they sent a haul of prospects to a rental, or to the Toronto Blue Jays for a rental pitcher in Yusei Kikuchi. They sent probably their number 2 or 3 prospect, I believe, pitcher, plus another guy, Joey Loperfido, who's been in Houston on and off this year. So he's major league ready. The starting pitcher was in Houston as well. And then another throwing guy. And that was viewed by a lot of people as quite the haul for a rental pitcher, and quite a stretch by the Astros to acquire Kikuchi. And as soon as that trade went down, everybody was thinking, yeah, that's reset the market. The Tigers are going to be able to get a haul for Jack. And that's going to get that deal some real good legs. They're going to really help the Tigers if they decide to deal him. But yet again, we have Scott Harris kind of waiting till the end, hoping to be the last. There's a lot of this is conjecture, of course, but it seems like Scott Harris waits till the end of the trade deadline and hopes to be the last guy standing with cards, and that everybody will have to come to him. And there's some differing reports out there right now that there was some better deals on the table earlier in the day and earlier in the weekend and things like that the Tigers didn't decide to accept for Flaherty, and that this was a lesser deal, and a lot of things floating around out there. But the Tigers ended up with 2 minor leaguers from the Dodgers, just so everybody knows what we're talking about here. They acquired a shortstop from the Dodgers AAA farm team, Trey Sweeney. He was the team's number 22 ranked prospect. Again, AAA, he's having a decent year. He's not lighting the world on fire necessarily, but he's having a decent year. I do apologize. My Wi-Fi is really struggling right now for whatever reason. Let's see here. Trey Sweeney. Here we go. He is 24 years old. He's a lefty hitter, so another lefty infielder. He's hitting .254 this year, 13 home runs, 62 RBIs, 16 stolen bases, and an OPS of 761. So, not eye-popping numbers for sure, but again, it's probably a serviceable MLB player in there somewhere. Who knows to what level. But then the real centerpiece of this deal comes in the form of a kid by the name of, again, this is the other guy. I'm probably going to butcher this. Tehran Liranzo. I'm truly sorry. I am trying my best here. But he is a catcher / first baseman. He was in high A for the Dodgers and was their number 8 ranked prospect before this. Just go to give you guys a little bit of his numbers. He is 21 years old. He's 6'3", 195. He's a big kid. He's a switch hitting catcher. He's primarily a catcher. It's crazy that he was born in 2003. That's still wild. This year in high A, he's hitting .220 with 7 homers, 30 RBIs with an OPS of 700. First of all, I really do quite like both of these guys from what I've been able to see of them this year. I really like Sweeney. I think that he could add some value to this team. He's 25. He's going to add some depth to a shortstop position that is a massive need for the Tigers. Obviously, they drafted a couple shortstops, and they have some guys coming in the minors, but right now at the major league level, there's nothing. This kind of fills that gap a little bit, adds to the Eddys Leonard, Ryan Kreidler group, and gives you another option there. And I really like what I've seen from Tehran Liranzo. He's got a swing. I don't want to say it looks like Javi under control a little bit. He's tries to hit for power. He's a big guy. So excited about those two guys specifically, and I want to make sure that I state that because I'm pretty excited about all of these guys. I think they're great additions to the minor league stable of players that the Tigers are collecting right now. But the real conjecture out there right now is whether the Tigers could have gotten more for Flaherty. And if they weren't going to get more for Flaherty, why not keep him and try to re-sign him, get him to sign the qualifying offer, extend him, whatever the case may be. I truly think that the best option for the Detroit Tigers for this year was to trade Jack Flaherty. Especially with the way things went down last year with Erod and how the deadline kind of flopped. I think it was important to show everybody that you could make a trade and you could actually get a return for an expiring asset, which is what Jack Flaherty was. The return is questionable. And I would be an idiot to say otherwise because of the returns that were gotten out there for like I said, Yusei Kikuchi. The Marlins got hauls of prospects for relievers, closers, starters. The White Sox pulled off quite a few really, really nice deals. And in comparison to everybody else right now, this deal really looks kind of weak. Who knows what other offers were on the table? Maybe we'll know at some point. but honestly, it's kind of a tough look for the Tigers. I think they probably should have gotten quite a bit more. Um, Now this brings into question a lot of the future of the organization, what Scott Harris is trying to build, what direction, because a lot of people are now saying as well, if you're going to trade Flaherty and if you're going to get, your centerpiece of a lot of your deals are lower. You've got double A guys, you've got high A guys that are centerpieces of those deals. All right, why don't you trade Skubal? There was a lot of conjecture over the last week to 2 weeks. The Tigers going to trade Skubal. Is that going to happen? What kind of a haul could they get from the Orioles or the Yankees or the Dodgers? Like, whatever. Why not trade him? Load up more, reset that window back a little bit, start building, try to build around guys like Reese Olson and all of that, and just do it all together. I truly don't know. I'm so torn because I really like Flaherty. I love Skubal. Everybody knows how much I truly love Skubal. Watching him pitch and watching him blossom into the pitcher he has been just so cool. But the team does not have the bats at the major league level right now to compete. And I don't know if they're going to have the bats at the major league level to compete in the next 2 years, which is how long the Tigers have with Skubal. Skubal's contract, his rookie contract runs to the end of 2026. That's when a lot of people say that the young guys, the Whitecaps and up guys should be here. I don't know how true that is. I really don't know. But man, you really come out in my experience right now, the Tigers and the organization and the fans really come out of the trade deadline with less of a direction than they had before. And that's a tough place to be, because not only do you trade guys like Carson Kelly, Andrew Chafin, Jack Flaherty, and Canna, we'll get to Canna momentarily. But the guys you get back, you start to question a little bit, and then just, moving forward, who's gonna be the guy for this team? You have a really decent skeleton of a rotation with Jack Flaherty. Nobody expected that going into the year, but you have a lot of holes. And I think the last couple weeks of games really showed the amount of holes that you have in this team. It's been tough to watch. The lineups looked questionable. There's really nobody you're scared of with Riley on the IL and everything going on with that. And then obviously the pitching staff is so thin right now. And then you subtract Flaherty and Chafin from that mix as well. The next couple of weeks, probably the month of August, is going to be a really, really tough one to watch for Tigers fans, especially knowing how close we were to 500 for the first, 4 months of the year. I don't know. It calls into question Scott Harris and his trading ability and what, his returns have been on trades. Quite a few of, I mean, the jury will be out for a while on a lot of these. Returns for Kelly, Chafin, Flaherty, and Canna will take a while. Returns from last year when they traded Lorenzen for Hao Yu Lee, who is currently hitting decently in Double A, but really who knows? Veerling, that whole deal with the Phillies. Gregory Soto just got traded today to the Orioles, I believe. Orioles, I think. I'd have to look. That was a very cursory part of my social media consumption this evening. Yeah, I don't know. I need to chew on a lot of this for another few days. I wanted to get kind of the gut reaction on a lot of this. I guess the bullet point version of this is I like a lot of the prospects that have come back. I think they probably should have gotten quite a bit more for Flaherty specifically. I think the deals for Canna, Chafin, and Kelly were all fair. the Tigers for Canna. He got traded to the Giants, by the way, San Francisco Giants, for a AA reliever Eric Silva. Kind of an interesting kind of flyer type of guy. Again, Mark Canna's an expiring asset on the last year of his contract. You go out and get something for him before you lose him to free agency. Probably aren't keeping him around, if I'm honest. He's been kind of meh all year. Yeah, a lot of veteran presence going to be missed on this major league roster in the next month. You've got really some well-rounded, well-traveled guys in Carson Kelly, Andrew Chafin, Jack Flaherty's been in. This is his fourth organization, the Dodgers, right now. Can has been, third or fourth organization now as well. It's going to take a real coach in AJ Hinch to hold this team together right now, and it's going to be a real test. We'll have to see what they do with the pitching staff. Right now, they have 2 starting pitchers on this team, which I don't understand how you're going to run. It was a stretch with 3 the last 2 to 3 times through the rotation. Right now you got Skubal and Kiter Montero are your starters. It's going to take some roster manipulation magic to pull out anything for the month of August, September. Again, hopefully you get Mize and Reese Olson back at some point, and maybe a Matt Manning can come back at some point. Scott's going to have to get real creative to make his project work here for the next 2 months plus. I think probably the biggest disappointment, and this is probably unreasonable from a lot of people, but I feel it and I totally understand the sentiment. A lot of Tigers fans saw what the rest of the division in the AL Central did today and just got really disappointed. You look at the Guardians adding guys like Lane Thomas, just adding around the edges to their organization to kind of solidify them for a playoff run. You look at the Royals adding guys like Mike Lorenzen and relievers. Yeah, even the Twins added as well. I forget who they picked up. They made a move as well to get better and to try to improve their team. And then you've got the Tigers and the White Sox selling so many guys. Obviously, the White Sox were going to do that. It's not any shade thrown at them, but not any more than normal anyway. But yeah, just a lot of disappointment, I think, from a lot of Tigers fans right now. But I told several people before this weekend, I said this is only going to go 2 ways for Tigers fans and for the organization. Either A, they're going to sell a bunch of guys. They're going to trade 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys, and everybody's going to be upset about the return. Everybody's going to be frustrated at, who we got rid of. Why did we get rid of player X? Why didn't we keep player Y? All of this stuff. Or why didn't we get more for player Z? Those kind of things. That was one reality. Or it was going to be the opposite of we stand pat, we hold off, we do kind of the thing we did last year where we really kind of just twiddle around at the trade deadline and really don't do much. And then everybody's going to be upset at that as well because we should have sold. We should have gotten something for guys before they leave. There was going to be no in between. And no matter what Scott Harris did, there wasn't going to be a situation where he is praised. I never believed that to be the case. And I don't understand why that is. I mean, even if he had pulled off the deal for more for the Flaherty deal, I just don't see a world where he comes out looking good in this whole situation, no matter what. I think probably the only thing he could have done worse at this point was trade Skubal for a subpar package. I think at that point there'd be calls for, his resignation and things of that nature. But yeah, I don't even know how to feel. It was exhausting. I finally had to get off social media for a good couple hours and just kind of let everything sit and settle down and kind of just get my mind wrapped around it. Yeah, and Scott Harris had a lot of comments. He sat down and had a press conference after the deadline, and I think that was a good step to take, because I think a lot of people had a lot of questions. I think that was really smart from his point of view. He didn't really come out and give too much mind-blowing information as per usual, but showing his face was good, and at least putting a name to some of the deals that they did was important, I think. Again, I think by next week's recording, I think I'll have a better grasp on what I think, and with the roster moves that are going to be made, I think that should probably put things in a different light as well. Yeah, just really weird situation. I mean, if you want to look at a pro, the Tigers finally got a deal done for a major league player with the Dodgers at the trade deadline without something going wrong. So I don't know, guys. You'll have to tell me what you think. I'm going to put a poll up at the end of this podcast. If you're a Twitter listener, it should be there, or a Spotify listener, rather, it should be there, and I'll put one up on my Twitter as well for the podcast. Let me know what you think. If the Tigers got enough, if they didn't, if they did well, if they got two, if they kind of fleeced the Dodgers. I don't know. You'll have to let me know. That's going to be it for me tonight, guys. There's a lot here. I'd like to see how a lot of it plays out. We'll have to see moving forward. But you've been listening to the Old English D podcast. Please leave us a like on the social medias, a follow, give our podcast a review, no matter where you listen. If you listen on Spotify, iHeart, if you listen on Apple Podcasts, I know there's a lot of you out there as well. Please give us a review. Please give us a rating. I keep saying us. It's such a habit. It's been 3 years. It's so weird. But yeah, if you wouldn't mind doing that for me, guys, I would really appreciate it. So thank you guys for listening. We will see you next week. Go Tigers.